It is a big idea, a new world order.
All right, and we are here live tonight, November 7th, 2010, as we navigate the waters of technical difficulties that never seem to go away. Tonight, hopefully, we're going to have Sonia from the Truther Girls radio show on the line with us tonight, all the way from Montreal, Canada, to give her analysis on what's going on the planet today, not only monetarily, not only in terms of potential false flags that could be coming our way, not only in terms of Lady Gaga mind control. It's all out there in the entertainment spectrum of reality, mind controlling people to acting out these simulated operating programs. We're going to be talking about a lot with Sonia tonight if we can get her on the line and get the phones working. But we're going to start this broadcast tonight by going over some of the latest developments that are actually rocking not only in the country but the globe at this time, with this latest announcement of this new phase of quantitative easing as the international bankers grab a bottle of lube and get ready to take the taxpayers to a whole new level. And we're looking at major tax derivatives, levels of tax going up, very high levels next year, 2011. And so we're going to work on getting Sonia on the line, and I'll look for a cue from my crew tonight when we have that up and running. So we'll start with a couple headlines here just to start the show. Federal Reserve to print billions of dollars in massive shadow stimulus. And this is coming from the AP. This is the terms that they are using. And this is the next headline. U.S. Federal Reserve's latest bubble threatens mayhem. The prospect of more quantitative easing is driving government bond yields to levels that price in a depression. We also have this one. NIA warns of food crisis, social collapse in response to Fed printing money. For those of you that have been watching Outside the Box TV and shows like this for some time, this comes as no surprise to you as we go into the next phase. The National Inflation Association is warning of a food crisis in America as soon as next year and possible social collapse as a result of the Federal Reserve's new quantitative easing program that threatens to literally destroy the buying power of the greenback. Wheat is up 84%, corn is up 63%, sugar is up 55%, soybeans are up 24%. All the more reason to have your own food supply. Goldman Sachs is saying the real cost of the Fed easing will exceed $2 trillion. Gold has also hit a record high. Gold is sitting at $1,400 an ounce right now, with projections that's going to hit well above $2,500 an ounce very soon. We have this headline here, presenting the Fed's balance sheet through 2012. Fed will surpass China as top holder of U.S. debt by the end of the month. What we've seen happen here is the Federal Reserve literally buying $600 billion worth of treasury bonds from other countries, alarming other countries and sparking now what is deemed already in the mainstream media as a currency war. A loaf of bread may soon cost $23 due to skyrocketing food price inflation. This is from Mike Adams from Natural News. And there's more at naturalnews.com on that. We're moving fast tonight to quickly get to our guest, and this is just a small stack of the potential stacks of news that I could bring to you tonight, because there's certainly a lot going on this week. Food inflation accelerating as cooking oil is poised to catch up to the cost of grains. This is from Bloomberg.com. Cooking oils left behind in this year's surge in agricultural prices are positioned to catch up with grains as record demand cut stockpiles by the most in 17 years. In this headline, it reads that the price of oil is now going up, and here comes quantitative easing, and also goes into a lot of the other developments that are going on. The price of oil has now topped $86 a barrel, so we're going to see an increase in the cost of gasoline in the very near future. As far as jobless rates claims surged to 457,000. More than 450,000 Americans filed for first-time unemployment insurance last week, and we're seeing a number of people, a large percentage of those that have been on unemployment, coming off of unemployment involuntarily before the year is out. China's Hu Jintao gives France G20 backing and is currently signing a number of deals that aren't being fully disclosed to the American people. This is in addition to the headline that the Chinese are buying Texas Energy, and that's actually one major multinational corporation with a bunch of other companies underneath it. We have this piece of information from researcher Gregory Dietrich, and we are talking about Homeland Security now. A phone interview with Sharon Boiler from the Department of Homeland Security revealed that the Homeland Security Department is stepping up regionalizing disaster supplies. Simply put, they're taking emergency items that are currently centralized in D.C. and they are distributing them nationally, sort of like a mobilization of supplies. Their plan is to complete the supply of 15 Homeland Security warehouses around the country in the next 3 months. The spokesperson for Homeland Security is quoted as saying, "We have worked hard the last 6 months to meet our local objectives." She continues that the goals of Homeland Security are in sight. It's difficult to know if this is a good or bad omen, by the way. No comment was offered as to why this program has been given so much urgency now at this particular point in time. It's nice to know we're ready, but ready for what? And it continues on and on and on. We're going to talk about Geithner real quick. Geithner consulted with Jon Stewart on economy. And this is from Raw Story. If the rally to restore sanity and or fear didn't convince you that Comedy Central's Jon Stewart has made the leap from comedian to political force, perhaps this will. According to Bloomberg News Service, Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner met with Stewart at the Daily Show host's New York offices in April. And according to the Treasury spokesperson, it wasn't a social visit. There's another development that's also come out with funny man Jon Stewart. His brother is, in fact, the chief operating officer of the New York Stock Exchange. There's lots of information on that coming out on the web. Before we get into the other news, though, we're going to bring Sonia on to get her take on what's been going on. Sonia is the host of the Truth or Girls radio show on AmericanFreedomUndergroundRadio.com. And Bill, let's go ahead and try to bring Sonia into the conversation if we have her with us. Sonia, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, glad you can be on with us. And I covered a couple headlines here, and we're going to get into some others.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you very much. Tell us first a little bit about yourself, the radio show, and how you got involved in public speaking.
Well, the radio show is on AmericanFreedomRadio.com, and it's on the internet, and it's syndicated also in about 15 states, I think, on the regular radio. I got involved doing YouTube about 1.5 years ago, and in the beginning it was kind of just me. Like I'd woken up to a lot of, the stuff that we all talk about, mostly regarding, the pharmaceutical industry and 9/11, all these things. And I had this friend living in my building who really didn't know very much about it, and we started making videos where we were talking about these things. And then she had a baby, and she kind of dropped out. But I just kept doing it, and as I was researching things, I was just blogging about them. And then I went on Jack Blood's show in February, and then out of that, I ended up getting my own show on American Freedom Radio, and so I've been doing that since February. And we talk a lot about, the very toxic pharmaceuticals because it's such a big part of the New World Order. That's one thing we talk quite a bit about, the pharmaceutical industry and the vaccines and how it's such a scam the way our medical system is set up. And also about the food supply and how that's being corrupted and how we're being misled or almost forced into making bad choices. And we talk about a lot of other things too, about the New World Order and false flags. And we have different guests on. We've had a lot of authors on. So that's what we've been doing now. And I still got the YouTube channel. I post all kinds of stuff on there. Mm-hmm. That's the Truth or Girls on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, even though this stuff is not a laughing matter, you have a very tasteful way of bringing humor to the table with your YouTube channel. So I suggest that people take a look at this, youtube.com/TheTruthOrGirls. And there's a lot of very informative, humorous, and other videos that are available. So we'll talk about bisphenol A tonight, now linked to male fertility. We'll talk about some other things involving health. But how are things from the view up in Canada? A lot of people have this mentality of, oh, if things really hit the fan here in the United States, we can just run up to Canada and everything's just going to be A-OK. but when we learn about the North American Union, when we learn about what happened to some of the female protesters there, how they were treated when they were illegally detained at the G20 that took place in Toronto, we see another picture coming into view. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I don't think Canada's really very different from the U.S. at all. I mean, right after 9/11, when Bush said you're either with us or you're with the terrorists, this map was produced. How did the countries stack up, or something like that? How the countries stacked up in the aftermath of 9/11 in terms of how on board they were with the U.S. plans to go into Iraq and Afghanistan, wage this fabricated war on terror. And Canada was the absolute top, perfect ally. And they basically do whatever America wants them to. I don't know everything about, how the system works. Some people actually say, that Canada is there to keep the America in check, or they're going to go to war against America. I don't see it that way. I mean, they're both corporations, and they're both serving corporations, serving the interests of other corporations, and not interests of the people. And they're both serving the purpose of New World Order imperialism, and you could call it American imperialism if you look at, projects for a new American century and the fact that America has bases everywhere and that they're absolutely at the forefront of just about everything. It's all American corporations at the forefront of what we call, the New World Order and all, arms of it. But Canada, we have, I just recently read in a paper here in L'Actualité what is our military doing? And although they say that they're going to pull out of Afghanistan in 2011, they've just spent $49 billion on new toys for the Army, and they have extensive plans for all kinds of heavy engagement in some kind of war, which I think they just kind of support whatever America's doing. And since this global war on terror is not going to shrink but just expand, the Canadians are just kind of the Canadian Army becomes like an extension of the American Army. And they were talking in this magazine about going into Sudan and Congo and Pakistan, things like that. So I think we're just an extension militarily and as a corporation of the U.S. It's all the same. I mean, we have this different culture up here, somewhat, and we have a very socialist system. Americans seem to be more conscious of their rights, their freedoms, and their liberties, civil liberties, and more aware of fighting for them in a certain way. They seem to have more activism there. They're more aware of, their need to, for example, uphold their right to bear arms. In Canada, except for in Quebec, they're pretty politically active. It's a little different, But in Canada, it seems like generally people are just pretty, apathetic about stuff, and they think, our government's good. Look, we get everything paid for, and they don't think about the fact that you pay, maybe 40% tax on your income.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And the first video that I saw by you was when you went into the supermarket with Karen, and I made a video too that was very similar. And the thing that struck me was you're in Canada, and the grocery stores that we were both in looked identically the same. I was on Safeway on 40-something Woodstock, and just looking at all the corn syrup, juggling bags of candy, acting a fool for my funny little video on YouTube. And then I look at your channel, it's like, oh my God, it's the same thing. There's no difference.
Yeah, it's hard to find food that's unadulterated. I mean, look, I've been sprouting things lately, and I tried to sprout some millet. The millet will not sprout, so either it's been irradiated or it's a Terminator seed. So, and it's from this line of like these expensive little, those little packages of seeds. They make it look like, it's some kind of special product, and it's gluten-free or whatever. It's supposed to be healthy, and they write all kinds of stuff on the label. And I just bought it because it was millet, and then, look, it doesn't sprout, so something's been done to it. So when you go to the supermarket, I mean, canola oil may not actually kill you, but there's a lot of things in there that if you keep eating them, I mean, who knows what's going to happen if you keep eating irradiated fruit. We know that kids who were fed irradiated wheat